Regular council meeting, City of Twinsburg, June 11th meeting to order. Join Mr. Fury in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
You need to call roll.
Or call roll, yeah, sorry.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Ms.
It's an
McFerrin?
exercise.
Up and down.
Ms.
Okay.
McFerrin? Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr.
Here.
Barr?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mrs. Stoffer? Here.
Okay,
Here.
now let's join Mr. Fury.
Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the city of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so that we continue to move in a positive direction. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, May 14th. Any additions, subtractions, comments on the? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 14th meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer? Yes. Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes. I think I'm getting people. Okay, next is awards and presentations. Mayor?
Well, good evening, everyone. We've got a couple of swearing-ins we're going to do this evening, and so I'd like to bring Travis up with his family. Raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I, Todd T. Abatino,
I, Todd T. Abatino,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
the Charter,
the Charter,
ordinances,
ordinances,
and resolutions
and resolutions
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
and will faithfully,
and will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a police officer
as a police officer
of the Twinsburg Police Department
of the Twinsburg Police Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
as I shall answer to God.
as I shall answer to God.
Congratulations. All right. Mr. Donato, would you like to come up? All right. I always enjoy swearing in officers. You know, we've got we're so proud of our safety forces here and what we do. And I know that guys have been with the department a long time. We got Travis here who's just joining us and hopefully will be here for a long time. But Brian is someone that's been in the department for years, been a valued member of both the patrol as well as our detective bureau. And it's exciting to see him being promoted here to sergeant. So we're going to swear him in with that. You could raise your right hand. I, Brian D. Donato,
I, Brian D. Donato,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
the Charter,
the Charter,
ordinances,
ordinances,
and resolutions
resolutions
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
and will faithfully,
and will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a police sergeant
as a police sergeant
of the Twinsburg Police Department
of the Twinsburg Police Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
as I shall answer to God.
as I shall answer to God.
Congratulations. All right. Well, thank you, guys. Brian, you got to come back up here. You got to make it official. Oh, you already signed that one? You signed this one. You can take one of them with you. I know that everyone's anxious to get out there because there's refreshments and everything. So if you'd like to break away at this point, you can do that and go and celebrate out there.
Do they want pictures? I want more pictures.
Okay. Next on the agenda is audience participation.
We have Mr. Baldwin.
Yes, thank you. Yes, good evening, Council. Bruce Baldwin, 3310 Canada Road. First problem, 9563 Route 14, house opposite the church. This fire hydrant has been leaking there for a good year and a half. I've seen it freeze on the road. I kept thinking what's going to get fixed. Well, it's been a year and a half now, so it's not fixing itself. So it's actually got worse, I think, because some leaks, they do that. And down the street, its lawn has not been mowed this year at the motel, close to the car repair shop east of the church, which is across the street from here. No name on the motel, and I've heard it called the Twinsburg Marriott. I hate that. That just, to me, that's not a good name to call it. That's pretty bad. And like I say, it hasn't been mowed this year yet. And the worst thing for last, the date, 07/13/2008 is Mr. McTarian's last day on the job. I go by here, and purposely so that I've seen 2 or 3 people at this memorial. It just irks me. More people won't go. They can't get off their computers. I know you can't do anything about that. Their cell phones and that. Would it hurt maybe just to make a sidewalk from the parking lot to give, don't people seem to care anymore about going there? Do you realize what the safety force is up against? Could there be a sidewalk put in? Maybe somebody get the idea, maybe I can park instead of walk all the way around by the street? Would it give a little bit more incentive to care, you think, or not? I don't know. Just a thought. I mean, I don't know how much it costs to put the sidewalk in, but I know I attended a funeral myself, and every time I go by, I think about it. It brings back bad thoughts. So, anyway, that's it. So you want this paper, did you?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you for remembering Josh. That's it on audience participation?
That is
Okay,
all.
next is council communications and committee reports. Mr. Fury.
Thank you. Last evening, I had the opportunity to attend the mayor's retreat. We did a few hours with the service department. A lot of information was passed along, and some of their long-term needs, including a new facility and possibly some land to put it on. Next finance meeting is going to be on July 9th at 6 p.m. And the CIC will meet next Tuesday, 6/18 at 6 p.m. at City Hall. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Mr. Scafidi.
Thank you. Good evening. My committees have not met. However, the Board of Zoning Appeals will meet tomorrow, the 12th of June at 6:30 right here in the City Hall. So we'll look forward to that meeting. I believe there's 2 items on the agenda for tomorrow night. And like Mr. Fury, I also attended the retreat last night. And I find these meetings to be pretty beneficial because it's our opportunity to sit one-on-one with whatever departments are there and just sit in a round table type thing, and we can look at each other and we can talk and discuss, and they lay out their plans for us and what's going on in their department, and we have an opportunity to talk, and it's really uninterrupted, and it's a good hour and a half sometimes spent with them. So thank you, Mayor, for doing that, to pulling that together. It works out well. Other than that, I have nothing else this evening. Thanks.
Mr. Bellin.
Thank you. Good evening. I hope everyone's having a relaxing start to their summer. I had the pleasure of attending the Breakfast of Champions for my son last week at Dodge. It was an outstanding event, as always, and I wanted to congratulate all the Dodge students that attended. I also attended yesterday's department head meeting where we talked about Public Works. I want to thank Chris Campbell and his guys for coming out and taking their time, as well as just for the daily outstanding job that they do for this community. I also want to thank the folks that came out this evening to interview for open boards and commission positions. I appreciate their willingness to serve their committee. The Architectural Review Board met on Thursday, June 6th. There were 4 cases on the agenda that evening. Case 190652 was an LED diesel price sign for sheets located at 2495 East Aurora Road, which was approved. Case 190653 was a planter sign for Operation Relo at 8987 Darrow Road, which was approved. Case 190654 was a warehouse addition for Vistar at 8745 Chamberlain Road, which was approved. And case 190655 was a pole barn at 9865 Shepherd Road, which was approved. The July 4th meeting was moved to July 2nd, and the next Architectural Review Board meeting will be held Thursday, June 20th, 6 p.m. right here in Council Chambers. The next Golf Advisory Board meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 16th at 6:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. That concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Stoffer.
Actually, I was at the Public Works meeting last night as well and got a lot of great information from that. Twinsday did meet, but unfortunately wasn't able to attend the meeting. So I will gather a report and report at the next meeting. The other committees have not met. And that's all I have.
Mr. Barr.
Thank you, good evening. Since our last council meeting, the Planning Commission met, and that was June 3rd at 7 o'clock here. There were 2 items for discussion in the work session. The Wilcox Meadows Senior Apartments was back on the agenda, and that's for the property 9422 Darrow Road. Greg Summers and Darrow Road Development were there, and they presented some minor changes to the Planning Commission. Again, it was just sort of a work session, and there was some good back and forth. So I think that they're hopefully heeding the advice of planning, and we'll see how that goes. My guess is they will be back again at the next meeting. There was also discussion, and Amy Moore mentioned it in the caucus meeting, about a lot split at 9802 Chamberlain Road. This is a piece of property, and Lewis Land Professionals, Joe Burgoon, was there. There's a parcel on the side of Chamberlain Road that they want to subdivide into 4 lots for the purposes of building single-family residential homes. They'd be pretty good-sized 4 buildable lots. They would remove any existing structures, and the water line extension and everything is approved by Cleveland Water right now and being reviewed by the EPA, and I know that Amy has been reviewing that as well. That was voted on and approved and did pass 5-0. That was the only other item on the Planning Commission's agenda. The next meeting of the Planning Commission is going to be held here in Council Chambers Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m. I will be unable to attend, and would just like to preemptively thank Ms. Stauffer for sitting in my place. Everybody's been talking about Chris Campbell and what a wonderful guy he is, but I'd just like to remind everybody that the June round of branch chipping is concluded, and the next round of branch chipping will begin Monday, July 1st. So get your branches out right before the holiday. And that is all I have this evening. Thank you.
Okay. None of my committees have met. I was at the retreat last night. It was interesting to hear from the gentleman from the Public Works. They have issues with the building that they have, and we need to, sometime in the future, take care of those issues. Mayor.
I'd like to hear from Mr. Scafidi first. Did you report?
I did.
He did.
Did you report?
I did,
I didn't
yes.
hear your report.
So second.
Thank you, though,
All
Mayor.
right.
I appreciate it.
All right, good evening, everyone. Couple things going on. So I'd like to thank council for attending the department head retreat. In the past, we've done kind of a large-scale retreat where we got all of council and all department heads together, and it was just a day that was packed with a lot of information that really didn't create enough time for us to kind of talk with department heads one-on-one and give council ability to talk one-on-one. So this year we broke it down into, I believe, 5 kind of mini retreats where we're meeting with department heads, which really allows the department head to express, their plans and the long-term goals for the department, currently what's going on, and allow council to ask questions more in depth on a one-on-one basis. So I think those have been going well. I actually, even though I spend time daily with the department heads, it's been good for me also. And hopefully it's been beneficial for department heads in their interaction with council. Second, we've got a captain's exam that we just did in the fire department. I'm sure the chief's going to mention that when he speaks. And we do have a certified list, so we're looking to hopefully hire some new firefighters off of that list. So that should be coming soon. I know we just swore in some police officers, but looking forward to swearing in some new firefighters also to add to the department. This past weekend we had Rock the Park had a concert that was a boy band review. I think it was a great start to the season. This coming weekend we have Journey Escape, which is, I know, a really popular band. I know a lot of people looking forward to them. We've had them, I believe, once before, and was excited about them coming back. The Rotary are doing their river run again. Last year was a huge success. The dates will be July 7th, 14th, and the 28th, starting at 9 a.m. and the last run is at 4 p.m. So you can sign up. It's $15 a person, and you can sign up at twinsburgrotary.org. But it was a huge success last year. I believe they sold out most of the days. So if you're wanting to do that, I would encourage you to go ahead and sign up for it. And then we've got Father's Day coming up this weekend, so I want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day. I know A&M's doing a big cookout, so I was asked to talk about it. So there's just no reservations needed, but there's going to be a big barbecue cookout. So the regular restaurant will be just catering to fathers with steak and chicken, and hopefully a big grill outside. So I encourage you to attend that. And then lastly, I just want to thank some people that organized a fundraiser for, we have a young man at the high school named Colin Bowser who's fighting leukemia right now. And we first got to know Colin because he went into cardiac arrest during a football practice on a weekend and had to be revived by our department, and unfortunately a trainer stepped in and then he got diagnosed with leukemia. So currently as we speak he's battling through chemotherapy, but they did a fundraiser for him this weekend that was a big success, and I know a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into helping Colin and his family through this challenging time. But I just want to encourage everyone to keep him and his family in your prayers. And then lastly, I want to mention we had a young man who's a lifeguard at our pool, Antonio Bernardo, and he reacted to a situation that we had, I believe it was on Friday at the pool, and I know Mr. Scafidi was there, but we had a 5-year-old that started seizing while in the pool and went underwater and had to be pulled out of the pool, and Antonio ended up performing CPR and was able to clear the child's lungs and revive him, but I know he was a little shaken up, but I just wanted to mention him tonight because we have probably one of the best trained lifeguard groups in probably, I would say, the country. There's only 5, I think, designated training facilities in the country that have certain rankings, and we're one of them, but our kids do a great job. I know we've had instances over the last couple of years where our CPR and first aid training has really come into play for certain situations. But I just wanted to recognize Antonio. And that is all I have this evening. So I think we have one department head report. Chief, you want to come up?
Good evening. During the month of May, the fire department responded to 251 calls for service. That brings us up to 1,203 for the year. That's just 11 calls behind where we were at the same point last year. No real outstanding events over the course of the month, but we did complete 39 fire prevention inspections, worked on 2 fire investigations, and also did 18 hours of public education, which involved 200 individuals. We also completed 129 training sessions, totaling about 450 hours of training to round out the month. Some points of interest: the weather warning sirens were tested on on the first Saturday of the month, and they all function properly, although there is still an issue with the one at Cannon Road. And but it makes noise and it turns around. It's just the little blue flashy light doesn't go off, so it still functions. As the mayor indicated, we did have the firefighters exam certified on May 16th. We had 55 individuals sit for the test, 52 passed. So we're going to begin vetting those candidates for positions with the department. And as he mentioned, 11 members sat for the captain's promotional test last night. And then there's also an assessment center Thursday during the day that the six top scorers from the list will be sitting through or working through. And then finally, hydrant flushing. To this point, we're just over 500 hydrants out of the almost 1,900 in the city and the township. And that's my report for tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're on to
Hang
legislation.
on. Sarah?
Sarah? I'm sorry.
Good evening, council. I had a conference call with our performance audit team last week. Our project manager was assigned as Lori Gabbett, and I just communicated to them council's interest in seeing communities with similar service levels provided, as well as population and demographic information. Our financial auditors completed their on-site work in May, and the departments continue to provide them with the information that they request as they go along. 2020 budget spreadsheets are being worked on now, and we'll distribute those out to the department heads in the first week of July. And then Rita completed their non-filing letter campaign. That generated $385,000 in tax liability, penalty, and interest. Of that, $123,000 has been collected so far. That's all I have. Thank you.
Larry, are you reporting?
If you wish.
Okay.
Legislation was pretty much my report.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, we have a number of pieces of legislation coming from planning and economic development. We have cell tower regulations, Chapter 909 and 910, one dealing with technical issues associated with cell towers. The other dealing with design guidelines for small cell towers. We also have a rezoning of the northwest corner of Glenwood and Darrow Road. There are two pieces of legislation related to that because there are two different districts being rezoned to R5 cluster residential. We have a CRA agreement for CIFRON. CIFRON is the new name for FFR, located at 8181 Darrow Road. They're contemplating a 100,000 square foot expansion and adding 25 employees. That would provide a 100% tax abatement for 10 years. In addition, there's a Twinsburg occupancy program agreement that would benefit CIFRON only for the new employment that they would generate. We will still collect the full freight on the current employees. And that would be 50% of the anticipated $1 million of wage income tax, 2% of that. There's also a CRA agreement for Vistar. Vistar is constructing a 78,000 square foot addition to their 137,000 square foot building located in Cornerstone Business Park. That business will benefit from a 50% 5-year property tax abatement, and they will be adding 5 employees. And lastly, the NOPEC agreement for us to accept $42,000 from the Energized Community Program through NOPEC that we anticipate utilizing for electronic vehicles charging stations. And just a couple of updates. The Downtown Redevelopment District info, we've completed a draft preliminary plan for downtown redevelopment districts. That'll be coming to council for your consideration. You'll receive the draft prior to the next meeting. And then we'll be anxious to hear your comments regarding that particular issue. And then it was mentioned earlier that the ARB meeting is being moved from, they had a schedule for July 4th, is being moved to July 2nd. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
That's all we have.
All right, next we're on to legislation. First up is ordinance 48, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the city of Twinsburg for the year 2019.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 48, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Is there any discussion?
This transfers $10,000 out of the training and travel the fire department to offset the costs for some trips that were taken to evaluate some trucks.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes. Okay, ordinance 48, 2019 passes 6-0. Next, ordinance 51, 2019.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Spano Brothers Construction Company Incorporated for the 2019 citywide sidewalk program.
Okay, that stands on its second reading. Next is ordinance 53, 2019.
An ordinance approving the recodification, editing, and inclusion of certain ordinances as part of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of Twinsburg, Ohio.
And that also stands on its second reading. Next is ordinance 55, 2019.
An ordinance creating section 909 of the codified ordinances of the city of Twinsburg regulating small cell technology in the right-of-way.
Next is ordinance 56, 2019. The 55 stands on its second reading also.
56, 2019, an ordinance creating section 910 of the codified ordinances of the city of Twinsburg regarding small cell design guidelines.
And that stands on its second reading. Next is ordinance 57, 2019.
An ordinance rezoning certain property, parcel 64-05379 in Twinsburg, Ohio, owned by the city of Twinsburg from PUD and public facilities to R5 single-family cluster district use.
That stands on its first reading. Next is ordinance 58, 2019.
An ordinance rezoning certain property, parcel 64-08056 in Twinsburg, Ohio, owned by the city of Twinsburg from C1 commercial use to R5 single-family cluster district use.
Okay, next is ordinance 59, 2019.
An ordinance adopting the tax budget of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020, and submitting the same to the county auditor.
And that's its first reading. Next is resolution 60, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with FFR, doing business as Cifron, and First Industrial Investments II, LLC, under the Community Reinvestment Area Program created pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 3735.66, for real property tax abatement.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 60, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Is there any discussion?
The purpose of the agreement is that this company, which is one of our largest employers, is going to add 100,000 square foot onto their existing facility, which allows them, makes them eligible for some property tax abatements. The school has been, the school system has been asked, the school board has voted in favor of this agreement, and this is a good investment in our community long term.
I believe an additional 25 jobs will be added. So that's the next one.
It's
Okay.
100% abatement for 10 years, correct, Mr. Fury?
It is.
Anything else?
On the
Anything
100,000
else?
On the new bill.
New bill.
On the new building, yeah.
On the new bill. Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 60, 2019 passes 6-0. Next, we're on to Resolution 61, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Fasteners for Retail Incorporated, doing business as Cifron, to provide tax incentives under the terms and conditions of the Twinsburg occupancy program.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 61, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Discussion.
This is a tax incentive agreement that they've agreed to add $1 million in payroll with 25 employees that will utilize the 100,000 square foot of the new office and from the same company. Again, their total payroll now is $16.5 million, and this is a good deal for the city to keep these people here.
This is a 50% increase for 5 years on, or 50% abatement on the increase for 5 years.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes?
Resolution 61, 2019 passes 6-0. Next, we're on to Resolution 62, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Vistar Ohio, Twinsburg Industrial Properties LLC, and 8745 Chamberlain Road LLC under the Community Reinvestment Area Program created pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3735.66 for real property tax abatement.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 62, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion?
This is a 7,800 or 78,000 square foot expansion, which will cost $25 million because they're refrigerated compartments. It's a 5-year, 50% property tax abatement on new construction.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes?
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 62, 2019 passes 6-0. Next, we're on Resolution 63, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the city to apply and accept an Energized Community Program grant administered through the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 63, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is an OPEC grant that we received. We have different options to do with this. We discussed looking at charging stations around the city, so that's one of the things we're exploring right now. The different locations and the costs associated with installing, using this grant for the charging stations.
And before we move forward, it'll come back to council to approve a plan or approve,
Yeah, anything we do would probably end up, I don't know if we'd have to go through planning for that, I mean, depending on what we do, but,
'cause we really
but
don't
yeah,
know
we'll
the
keep
end.
council up to date as
We
to.
really don't know what the true cost is to us at this point. We know we get this money, but we don't know what the charging station costs. We don't know how we're being reimbursed,
Yeah, we're learning about it also, so as soon as we get more information, we'll
Okay.
present it all to council.
Thank you.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes?
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 63, 2019 passes 6-0. Next, we're on to Resolution 64, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement pursuant to Section 5521.01 of the Ohio Revised Code with Ohio Department of Transportation to allow work on state highways within the City of Twinsburg Corporation limits.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 64, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. This is so the state can work on signage at 82 and 90, or 82 and 480 and 91 and 480 is what the engineer said. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi.
Yes.
Resolution 64, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 65, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the city engineer to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement Program and to execute contracts as required for the Dorridge Drive improvements.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 65, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second that, please.
Mr. Scafidi seconds. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is for Dorridge Drive, and it's another one of the streets in Glenwood Acres that still has the transite pipe there, and to change out the water lines and do some additional sewer work and so on Dorridge. So I'd hope that we would pass this evening.
Okay. The,
It's a zero interest loan,
right.
which we had got
Yeah,
for all those
exactly.
other ones. So it's a good, as far as loans go, it's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And once
I mean,
this
we
is-
still got to pay back the principal, but zero interest is a great thing.
Well, you do cost them money over 30 years, it works out to be better, so.
Okay.
Once this is done, I think we're down to maybe one, possibly two more streets
One and a
that,
half, I think.
yeah, that left to do, and all the transite pipe will be removed from that area. So I think it's a good project.
Okay, Shannon, please call a roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 65, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 66, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the city engineer to apply for federal surface transportation block grant funds and/or congested management air quality programmed by the Akron Metropolitan Transportation Study for the Darrow Road Center Turn Lane Project.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 66, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second. Yield.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Any discussion?
This is just applying for EMAT's money for a turn lane from basically Tinker's Creek to the square, just to relieve some of the congestion as it involves some of the businesses as well as the school traffic down there.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Resolution 66, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 67, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the city engineer to apply for federal surface transportation block grant funds and/or congested management air quality programmed by the Akron Metropolitan Transportation Study for the Richmond, Broadway, Shepherd, Ravenna construction project.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 67, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. This is basically so we can realign and make it easier to get through that intersection, and it needs to be done. Absolutely. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Resolution 67, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 68, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the city to donate certain personal property owned by the city of Twinsburg and no longer needed for municipal purposes to the Highland Hills Fire Department.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 68, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Discussion?
These are fire code books that we no longer use because we do everything electronically, and Highland Hills has a need for them, so we'd like to donate them.
Okay. Anything else? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Resolution 68, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 69, 2019.
A resolution appointing one team member to the Environmental Commission.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend Resolution 69, 2019 by inserting the name Jamison Payne into the ordinance in the blank as the member, the young man we want to appoint to the Environmental Commission. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds.
I'll
It's
yield.
my student.
That's your, I'll yield. Go ahead. You second.
But it's Scott's committee.
I know.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait,
Come on.
This is just the amendment. We have.
This is
another
just the
one to pass
amendment,
it.
Yeah, you guys could pass it,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, but.
Sam will take it.
No, let more.
get your coin.
I second.
Okay.
Okay.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds it. Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay. The motion to amend passes 6-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 69, 2019 as amended. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Okay. Mr. Fury seconds. Any further discussion?
Mr. Payne was incredibly impressive.
Yes, he is. He is a remarkable young man. There-
Mr. Payne will be filling a void left by our previous member, Zen Danker, who did an exceptional job. We wish her well in college this fall, and we look forward to having Mr. Payne join the Environmental Commission.
I think somebody said earlier, but Mr. Payne's a sophomore in high school, who's a junior at Kent State, and is working on his Eagle Scout program in his sophomore to junior year.
Very impressive.
He looks like he might make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
And apparently, didn't he say he was hoping to graduate from Kent with a bachelor's degree at the same time he graduates from high school?
Yep, he did say that.
Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 69, 2019 passes 6-0. Next, we're on to Resolution 70, 2019.
A resolution appointing one member to the Civil Service Commission.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend Resolution 70, 2019 by inserting the name Joe Jasny into the blank as the person we are going to appoint to the Civil Service Commission. Is there
I'll
a
second.
second?
Julie?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, the motion to amend the resolution passes 6-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 70, 2019 as amended. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
Joe would be a perfect fit. He's
Yeah.
a retired police officer, Marine Corps veteran, fit right into a civil service board.
I agree.
Another highly qualified applicant.
Right.
Mhm.
Very fortunate.
Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 70, 2019 passes 6-0. Okay, we are done with the legislation. Now we are on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous.
I have nothing further at this time. Again, thank you to Mrs. Stoffer for sitting in the planning next. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome, you're welcome. I would just like to congratulate the people that were appointed, and of course Jameson, but he is one of many incredible students that they're on their way through, so we're gonna see a lot more kids step up here. So congratulations. That's all I have.
Mr. Bellin?
Yeah, the combined Corbett's Farm and Meadowwood garage sale will be held on Friday, June 14th and Saturday, June 15th. I will be posting maps and further details to my website, gregbellantwinsburg.com, as they become available. Also, the Ethan's Green garage sale is those same days, 14th and the 15th. I'm sorry, Bill. I'll yield. Finally, to all the dads out there, a very happy Father's Day this Sunday. Nothing further.
Mr. Scafidi?
I have nothing tonight except, again, to wish all the dads out there happy Father's Day this Sunday, and I hope you have a great day with your families.
Mr. Fear?
I wanted to thank Nick Ciafani, who's worked in the congressional office in Twinsburg for 12 years. He was with Congressman Loxred and Congressman Joyce. He was a fantastic resource for residents as well as to get things done. And I had people that had Social Security issues and that were just stuck. In fact, I had a resident who, when her husband died, Social Security said that she was also dead, and it froze everything. And he was able to get the Social Security office to get that fixed in about 2 days, which was a huge relief to the family at a time when you don't need that. So he is just became a father himself. He has a son, and he needs something that is going to not be as demanding on the weekends. So he's taking a full-time job with the lottery. But Nick did a great job for the city of Twinsburg over the last 12 years, and I know that they'll find a replacement that'll be just as good. But Nick did a great job, and it was a good friend. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
I have nothing further. Last thing on the agenda is to excuse absent. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just have one thing I didn't mention in my report, but we're working currently, we work with our service department as well as the VFW to create a banner program to recognize veterans here in the city. And we're going to be identifying poles basically from here down to the square to display those banners for a couple months around Memorial Day and a couple months around Veterans Day. I've already had discussions with the township, so we're able to use any poles that are available in the square to create kind of this pathway down to the center of town. So I know I've sent some proofs to council. We're working on the form, and VFW is going to help us vet that out. But I just wanted to have the residents, keep watch out for this particular program. This is something that the city is going to be doing to honor the veterans. And once it gets rolled out, and we're looking for, basically veterans that have lived at some point in the city of Twinsburg. So could be a family member that's lived here, or anyone else that you may know that was part of Twinsburg's history and that has served. So I just wanted to share that. And that's all I have.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. Okay, now we're on to excusing absent members. I'd like to make a motion, we excuse Ms. McFerrin.
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Sure.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we are adjourned. Good night.